mind-numbingly slow traffic jam. Heading through that right now on our way back from Wayne County. Yeah, I mean, got a lot of stuff. Lot of stuff to do. Stuff with the property. But we're about done with the property, thank God. Really, the only thing left is to wait for Wayne County to approve our permit so we can begin our wetland restoration project, Zook Pond, in honor of John Zook Jr., the veteran that the city of Wayne, Michigan, well, executed, murdered, whatever way you want to, however you want to put it. Killed, right? Offed, 86th, unalived, right? We'll use unalived, okay? Try to do the algorithm dance, right? So, John Zook Jr. is unalived, June 18th of 2024. Really, this whole thing began because of a deck inspection. So, I put a deck on my house when I bought it. It didn't come with one. And the city of Wayne city inspector, his incompetence and his indifference made all the difference in the world to me. And it pissed me off to the point to where I started to look into the city of Wayne because, man, it was something just wasn't right about it, guys. When you just know that you know something, like you can't put your finger on it, but you're like, this just is very odd to me. So this guy comes out, claims he came out twice for these inspections. Of course, first of all, no inspection report of any kind. So I got charged for an inspection. The piece of paper just says pass or fail or complete. I don't even think it said that. I think it just said it was completed. And I'm like, okay, well, this tells me nothing about anything. And come to find out, the ledger board wasn't even attached to my house, guys. So call site porter. Intuition is learned. Exactly, right? I have a couple decades, 3 decades of experience dealing with very deceitful people. My military experience, Georgia Military College, United States Army, Montcalm County, Michigan, Wayne, Michigan. I mean, just my whole life experience, right? I have a master's in psychology, in industrial organizational psychology. Basically, I was trained to root out deceitfulness and to root out just liars, right? People call people out on their bullshit, right? Put it in more simpler terms. So, I'm taught these sort of skill set throughout military college, U.S. Army, and then of course graduate school, right? So for me, this was kind of like my big case study, right? This was my first kind of real case study since I was graduated, right, with my degree. And boy, I had no idea what I was moving into. I had no idea about this zip code. I didn't even know Wayne, Michigan even existed, guys. Like, swear on my mom's life, swear on my wife's life and my children's life, I had never even heard of the city of Wayne, Michigan prior to me moving to the city of Wayne, Michigan. I'm the type of guy that, I'm more idealistic than most people. That's why I've won the Optimist Award multiple times. But basically, I always viewed it as, well, I'm an American, I'm a veteran, and I live in Michigan, right? So I'm protected there, right? It just never occurred to me that there would be such a drastic difference between zip code to zip code as far as like how you're treated by the government, right? So, I mean, I literally could have had a deck fall onto my family and onto me, right? Could have collapsed and destroyed my house. And luckily, I just had the intuition to look, right? To actually inspect, right? I didn't just take the city of Wayne's Inspector Gregory's word for it, right? And thank God I didn't. And I called the structural engineer out, and he confirmed what I had thought. And then all of a sudden, the city of Wayne tried to scramble and send the contractor over there to fix it. It only took them 2 or 3 times, and it was just really a bunch of unnecessary bullshit that the city of Wayne should have caught. But they force you to get these permits, and then they don't give you what you pay for. They don't even give you a report or anything. And I question whether the inspection was even done, because there's no proof that it was done. There's no report that it was done. There's nothing to demonstrate that it was done at all. And, you know, quite literally, we have evidence that there was no inspection completed, because the ledger board is literally the most important thing on a deck. It would be the first thing that anybody would look for. Like, that's the first thing you're going to inspect. And yeah, it was just insane that, you know, had I not looked, my deck collapsed. So, you know, that kind of got the city of Wayne on my radar, right? Because like I said, I, again, swear on my children's life, swear on my wife's life, have never had any political aspirations whatsoever. I was on the student council at Georgia Military College, briefly, but, you know, that's about where my aspirations ended. And I was asked to do it. It wasn't like I was, you know, like, I didn't seek it out. It was asked of me, and I did it. Just like running for mayor of Wayne, Michigan, that was asked of me by residents. In 2024, when I ran as a write-in, I hadn't lived in the city long enough, so I couldn't be on the ballot anyways, but, you know, I had people ask me, you know, you got to run, you know, someone's got to do it, right? We're tired of it, you know, please help. And so I ran as a write-in, an unofficial write-in, undeclared write-in, and, you know, got my name out there a little bit. And then now I'm running for city council, and I'm on the ballot. We'll see what happens. But what's happened so far, signs, well, it's completely unacceptable. It's just completely unacceptable, and it's illegal. That's the more thing, right? But legality speaking, taking someone's political campaign signs and disposing of them, that's a crime. That's a bona fide crime. So it's just insane to me that, you know, the city of Wayne would endorse that behavior, right? Diane Webb and, you know, the police chief, deputy chief police, right? It's just amazing to me that the city of Wayne would endorse that sort of behavior. But it's not surprising, like I said, because it truly is. If I were to win and they were to lose this upcoming election, and then they were to lose again in 2028, we have an entire new city council. It's bad news for them, right? Because I give a shit. I know there's people that either are running or are going to run next go around that give a shit as well. And, you know, that's, I think, the biggest threat for, you know, they're going to nip this in the bud, declare me mentally ill, have me falsely petitioned, right, with no clinical certificates whatsoever, just completely no basis for it whatsoever. If I want to film the police, which I might actually do this now, because you guys love threatening me with a good time so much, instead of being on your best behavior and actually being a public servant, right? Because that's what you're supposed to be, right? A public servant. Well, if you're a public servant, see, I went to Georgia Military College and learned, it's one of the few places in the United States, one of the few places in the world, actually, Georgia Military College, where you learn what servant leadership is, right? Servant leadership. And, you know, they claim to be public servants, but I don't see the servant leadership. I don't see the service, right? All I see is like people scared of cameras, right? People that are just horrified of cameras, right? And they'll try to, of course, say, oh, it's me, and, you know, I'm harassing them. And it's like, no, I'm just coming down here asking basic questions and asking for not really, they're not complex questions. They're not gotcha questions. And, you know, if you just tell me where you disposed of my signs at, what happened to my signs, what authority did you have to take my signs, right? Like, just have a little short civil discourse with somebody, and preferably just give them their property back, right? You just give them their property back, and problem solved, right? No more reason to communicate, right? But see, city of Wayne, right? They just can't help themselves, because they know how dire it is, right? They know how dire it is to keep me away from City Hall. That's why they wanted 18 months probation after the maximum sentence was already imposed, right? Which is, you know, illegal as fuck, again. Unconstitutional as fuck. If you already serve a sentence, you already served the maximum sentence for the penalty. then the probation is like literally punitive. Like there's no purpose for the probation other than their purpose, of course, was to keep me from City Hall and all of that, so we saw how that went and how that goes and yada yada yada. But I mean, like I said again, the city of Wayne is corrupt to the core. Apparently seemingly always has been, at least in the since at least 2008, right? Abraham Hughes, right? Because anyone who can spend 30 seconds looking at, you don't even have to talk, just look at Abraham Hughes and then look at Ryan Strong and then tell me with a straight face that Ryan Strong performed higher on any sort of aptitude, any sort of merit-based test, right? He scored higher than Abraham Hughes, who's now the chief of police for Northville Township, right? And it's just absolutely disgusting in every single way, because you could spend 10 seconds, you could have Abraham Hughes and Ryan Strong just talk to him for 20 seconds and you'll get a clear and concise picture of who's more competent, who actually scored higher. Because what happened was Lisa Nocerini, right? Ryan Strong and Lisa Nocerini colluded, right? Because Lisa Nocerini, there was a guy that was a big problem for the city of Wayne. It was Mark Blackwell. And so Lisa Nocerini was the current city manager, and basically they wanted to do something about Mark Blackwell, kind of like what they want to do, they want to do something about, me, right? But before me, there was Mark Blackwell, and basically Mark Blackwell was a local critic. He was calling for, Lisa Nocerini to be fired. So Lisa Nocerini basically switched the test between Abraham Hughes and Ryan Strong, given Ryan Strong, of course, the position over Abraham Hughes. Abraham Hughes sued. Basically didn't go the way it should have went, but again, just because you lose a lawsuit doesn't mean there isn't merit to it. Doesn't mean that it could be 99.9% accurate and true and have merit. You could just lose on the redressability. I mean, there's all kinds of procedural bullshit that get in the way of it. But bottom line is, Abraham Hughes made a plausible allegation, and I mean, based on what I'm seeing with Ryan Strong, I mean, there's no way that motherfucker is merit-based anything. That dude is just a deplorable, scummy human being. And his deputy chief, Finn Carter, ooh, it's bad. I mean, those two, it's horrible. I mean, they both violated Mark Blackwell's rights, lost qualified immunity. Both of them did, and then they get promoted for it, so... Of course, it's going to be hard for them to get out of what they did to me and what they're continuing to do to me, but, got to be alive for it. You got to be alive to argue it, right? And of course, I have yet to really meet an attorney who actually had any balls, right? Most attorneys, they're just kind of all talk and no action, and, they're just want to pay out, right? They don't actually want to represent you and dive into the truth and what's actually going on. And I mean, it takes money. That takes hours, and time is money, as you know. And the whole system, it's just a sham. The whole thing's a fucking sham. It's a whole sham. The whole thing's a sham in a nutshell. But that's the system we have. But then we have the city council system where we're supposed to be able to have open dialogue, and obviously you saw how that went just here a couple days ago, right? Having some open dialogue, sharing my thoughts, right, about the budget, and then I was told I couldn't speak a certain way, or I don't know what I guess the allegation is I'm not allowed to, first of all, I was addressing the city council. I was addressing all the department heads. Everybody in that fucking room was being addressed. That's relevant, right? Not the people sitting in the audience necessarily, although they matter too, but I'm addressing, the department, the council, the city manager, the collective, right? And, then I was told, of course, I'm not allowed to do that, or I didn't do it the right way, or whatever little John said, little Johnny, whatever he said, one thing led to another, and then DEI Finley Carter, he tells me it's time to go, right? Because was my time expired? Did I make a true threat? Did I incite violence? Hell no, of course not. You guys saw all that. And then later, Deborah Wise, or whatever, the really disgraceful councilwoman. She made some comments on what would we do if the police didn't take that guy out of here. Well, you would have had to listen to me talk for another, I don't know what I had, 30 or 60 seconds left or something, and then eventually my time would have expired. You guys wouldn't have allowed it to continue or whatever, past the motion or whatever. So I would have just sat down and we would have went on with the meeting, and then of course I would have spoke again during public comment for things not on the agenda, which is why I really was there, primarily because of my signs being stolen. I wanted the people to be made aware of my signs being stolen, and of course I was not afforded the opportunity to do that because and then of course later John Racy, he defamed me, said I've been harassing him for over 2 years, which is a mathematical lie, not just a lie, but it's mathematically a lie, because I haven't lived in the city of Wayne for over 2 years. And John Racy wasn't even, he didn't even know who I was, and I didn't even know who he was up until I lived in Wayne for several months at least at that point. But harassing him, right, which is like he's saying it like it's a statement of fact, and it's not, right? It's absolutely not. It's verifiably false. I've never been convicted of harassing anybody. I think the city tried to charge me with harassing or something. Lisa Colbaney, the woman who slammed the door to me that you guys saw on video, she tried to make a false police report claiming that I apparently, I called up to the police station. Well, she kept hanging up on me, right? I was trying to explain to her that I was going to have an open burn, and if she got any calls, to just ignore them so they didn't waste public resources to enforce, nothing, right? So, plus I was trying to get the permit process down, right? What's this permit that doesn't exist? But I don't know. I just wanted to know, is there a permit scheme of any kind? And of course there's not. And, she just hung up on me abruptly 3 or 4 times. So I decided to call back a couple times because I wasn't sure the first couple times, to be fucking honest with you guys. I didn't know, I have shitty cell phone signal. It's City of Wayne. They're not, it's not the best fucking, connection, let's say. So I don't know. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. That's just who I am. And, a couple times, I think the third time, the fourth time, it might have been the fourth time, I realized, okay, she's just hanging up on me or whatever. So they try to frame that as harassment, right? Asking questions and trying to get clarification on the burn policy, or what they're falsely calling the open burn ordinance when it's actually open burn policy. So you're like, man, that's just, kind of weird, right? But I was charged, I believe, with harassment or harassing communications. Of course, it was disposed of. It was dropped. It was just one day, and I saw some paperwork on it, and then I never heard about it again. So guess there wasn't enough evidence, right? So in other words, there wasn't an actual crime that was committed because there was no evidence for it. It was all recorded, so it's not like there was a lack of evidence. It was just the fact that the evidence didn't show what they were trying to paint, right? It didn't show their false narration, right? So they of course dropped it, disposed it, or whatever you want to call it. And so then they dismissed other charges and all that. So actually, if you look at my background, there is no criminal record whatsoever, and it's kind of weird. It's just kind of weird. You went through a year of hell, of kidnappings and torture and just deprivation of all liberties, no access to medical care, etc., etc. And just total, not even allowed to work, right? Just try to imagine that, guys. Have you ever heard of a bond condition where somebody can't work or they can't go to school? Just try to imagine that, right, for a moment, if you could. I would be curious to know. But I was treated like a violent felon, pariah to the community. Just, as John Racy called me, he called me the disgrace of the community. I'm the disgrace of the community because I want answers to basic questions, right? I'm the disgrace of the community because, I don't want to let you guys brush under the rug the unaliving of John Zook Jr. and how you couldn't be transparent with the body camera footage and how none of the actual story makes any sense. And of course, how when you actually just look at the body camera footage yourself, you can clearly see that John Zook Jr. was not an imminent threat to nobody, and it was premeditated. It was premeditated. I saw the mannerisms of Grombrowski, his tone of voice, and just the totality of the situation. John Zook Jr. had been a problem for him for a long time. He was a frequent flyer down at the police station, they'll say. And yeah, they used the convenience of the situation to unalive John Zook Jr. plausibly, right? And then of course they covered it up and made his family suffer and made the whole community suffer, and they're still suffering because there hasn't been any real closure to it, and there hasn't really been anything at all to it. And people rightfully are frustrated and angry and upset about it, and distraught by it and traumatized by it. I mean, who the fuck wouldn't be? I'm traumatized by it. I didn't even know John Zook Jr. Right? I'm a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm a disabled, medically retired combat veteran, and I was completely horrified by the John Zook Jr. I'm just gonna call it murder. That's what the fuck it was. And just watching that, and seeing it, right, all different angles of it. I mean, it was fucking trauma level 10 out of 9, right? It was 11 out of 10. I mean, it was the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. No video has ever disgusted me, and I've watched a lot of gruesome and seen a lot of gruesome shit, man. And my instincts, my intuition, just everything I know, my education, my opinion, it was a murder execution. It was plausible. It was just one of those plausible unalivings, right? And of course they'll try to argue, it was suicide by cop, and no, it wasn't. John Zook Jr., he was a real nigga, and the problem is John Zook Jr. would call a bitch-ass piggy, right? And test their gangster, right? Because they want to go walk around and parade themselves like they're some fucking gangster mafia, member or something, right? And they're not, right? I've challenged all of them to a sanctioned event at the Hype Center, each and every one of them. They're all pussies, man. They're all fucking pussies. They're all chumpzillas, right? They're all fucking baby boy cuck bitches, man. That's what they are. Soy boy bitches. And it's a gang of pussies. That's what the modern day police department is in America. The modern day police department in America is modern day pussies, right? That's what it is. It's a pussy wannabe militia. It's totally unconstitutional. It's totally in violation of all your civil and constitutional rights every single day. Oh, there's good cops. No, there's more tolerable cops than others, but at the end of the day, they're all bad because they all worship and they all serve a corrupt system. So yeah, this good cop, bad cop argument, it's bullshit. They're all bad. None of them can be trusted. I don't care if they're your brother, your mom, your dad. I don't fucking care. It does not matter. They serve a corrupt system. And at the end of the day, the system comes before your rights. That's the bottom line. The status quo comes before your civil liberties. And that is the bottom fucking line. And if my case has not exemplified that to the world in its entirety, then I don't know what will, right? Because I have completely and utterly shown you guys everything, right? Live, unedited, with limited resources, of course. I mean, I have a body camera on the way, and I'm gonna start, for the lack of a better word, taking this shit more seriously. But it's hard to take this shit seriously when it's not something that you want. It's something that was just like thrown at you, right? Thrown into you, right? Your rights were violated because you picked the wrong zip code. Well, I can't be blamed for picking the wrong zip code. I did not know that the city of Wayne, didn't know who the city of Wayne was. Didn't know anything about the city of Wayne when I signed my mortgage and moved in. Had no fucking clue. But I found out, within days, within hours of being in the city of Wayne, listening and talking to residents, people welcoming me to the community. They still welcome me to the community. because I'm the newest house, that's been built in Wayne, and it's the most, most unique house, right? It's the most unique property and all that, yada yada yada. Well, anyways, so I learned very quickly, right? But I had no fucking idea. If I would have known about the Mark Blackwell case, I would have not moved to the city of Wayne. But I've never been, around just this level, this sheer level of corrupt. I've never been around it and been in a position to do something about it. You know what I mean? And I am in a unique position in life, and I'm very grateful for that. And so, of course, I don't want to let the legacy of John Zook Jr. die, but I also don't want to, give up and, say fuck it, right? Because it's too easy to do it, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I've thought about it, but there's things that are bigger than me in this world, and these cases, this fucking 2 years of living in Wayne, Michigan, 48184, right? These 2 years, roughly, living in Wayne, they've come at a tremendous cost to me and my family, and to my emotional health, my mental health, and the sheer amount of emotional distress that Wayne County Jail caused me, right, was insurmountable, guys. I mean, it really, it broke me. It broke me to be in there, to be charged with a crime that doesn't even really technically exist, right? No primary crime, just a secondary interference charge, interference with the enforcement of a warrantless search and seizure, which again is presumed to be unconstitutional. So, especially when when you have some idea, like like I said, I'm not a law scholar, but I do have at this point more knowledge than most people, unfortunately. And when like, okay, you're getting fucked over, you're being wronged, you're maliciously prosecuted, and you're an innocent man sitting in jail for nothing, for witchcraft, for sorcery, essentially. But then the case law, and I don't know, it's like more than most, right? And it just breaks you. It just breaks you, I mean, there's nothing worse that I've ever went through in my life. And I've went through rapes. I've seen people raped. I've been personally raped. I've seen people brutalized, man. I've seen people overdose. I've seen people die and get resuscitated. I mean, I've seen some shit, guys, and I've been around some shit basically my whole life. Montcalm County was trauma. The U.S. Army was double trauma. And the city of Wayne is like triple, quadruple, espresso trauma, right? I mean, it's just, and then being in that Wayne County jail full of all those DEI hires, all those joggers. I mean, the smell, guys, the smell of rotten jogger ass, right? I mean, it's horrifying, right? I mean, to any sane person, right? Any sane person would take a plea just to get the fuck out of there, right? Just to come home alive, And when you're literally sitting in there without bail, right? You're remanded and remanded and remanded because of very serious, punitive, unconstitutional bond conditions, right? Unconstitutional charges. I mean, everything disposed of. I mean, the whole thing. It's all malicious prosecution. Every time they try to summon a case on me, well, it either gets acquitted, dismissed, disposed, whatever, right? So, I don't know. The only thing that I've learned from this is, well, not the only thing, but one of the things that I've learned from this is that there's no such thing as a good cop, but I'm going to say there's really no such thing as a good public employee, right? Potentially, right? I mean, it's just by virtue of how the system is, it's all designed to protect itself. It's all designed to praise itself. It's all designed to be a feedback loop, right? A feedback loop, and you're not in the loop, right? And you're just a spectator. And they say you have these constitutional rights, but in practice, you really, Like Nate Diaz says, you really don't. You really don't. You won't. You won't. That's what he said. You won't. Well, you know, are we going to uphold your rights? You won't. You won't. Are you going to uphold my rights, City of Wayne? You won't. And we know you won't. And that's really the tragedy of all this, right? Is I have been victimized time and time again by the City of Wayne. 5 warrantless break-ins, okay? A warrantless break-in is presumed to be unconstitutional. It's the chief evil against the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And these people will swear an oath to protect and to serve the Constitution, and then they'll woefully violate it and try to cover it up and try to excuse it and try to ratify it and try to normalize it and try to, you know, just fucking turn it into a, you know, frenzy, right? Just a frenzy of Kafkaesque bond violations and charges, and, you know, what are you left with? What are you left with, right? Just trauma. Just good old-fashioned fucking PTSD. And you want to talk about something that's not right, John Racy? That's not right, dude. Right? You know, people take time out of their day. They get 180 seconds to speak, some time limit that you artificially imposed upon them, and then they don't even get to have their 180 seconds, right? To speak to their constituents, right? People that could be potential voters, right? So you use your position of power as not only the mayor of Wayne, Michigan, but also as the unofficial voice of the City of Wayne. You run the Wayne Dispatch, which I believe is a public publication. It looks like it is, but apparently it's private. Well, it masquerades itself as a public publication, right, which is the official voice of the city. And effectively, it is the official voice of the City of Wayne, Michigan. And you use that platform and your position to defame me, right? To claim that I'm, harassing people for over 2 years. I've harassed workers and residents and, intimidating people. And it's not right that I'm using my First Amendment to harass and intimidate and threaten people. Something's to that effect, right? And you're just like, wow, that is a hell of a way to characterize somebody wanting to know how much money was spent on the malicious prosecution of me, right? That is just amazing to me, right? And the fact that anyone would believe, well, nobody clapped for him, right? Nobody clapped for him, right? Because the irony couldn't have been understated, right? The cognitive dissonance between those city council persons, right? Versus reality. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, here we are, days before Memorial Day, and you're sitting here trying to praise veterans while you're slobbing on a police department that murdered a veteran just a couple years ago and covered it up, right? You guys were culpable. You guys facilitated the covering up and the prolonging of suffering for people. And, of course, has John Zook Jr. and his family gotten any justice for what clearly shouldn't have happened? Well, nope. City of Wayne's fought him every step of the way, just like the City of Wayne's fought Anthony Miller, the guy that they, violated his constitutional rights, and Mark Blackwell. You saw what they did to him, retaliatory prosecution, malicious prosecution, because he exercised his First Amendment rights, and then he paid the price. And I paid the price fucking more than anybody outside of John Zook Jr., obviously, and that's why I feel compelled to name my pond after John Zook Jr., because John Zook Jr. was a real fucking hero, and the City of Wayne and the City of Wayne Fire Department, Police Department, department heads, they're anything but heroes. They're anything but heroes. As far as I know, none of them are veterans other than Brandon Braun, the same guy who conveniently wants to fucking, wants to remove and destroy my signs from public and private property, right? Well over a dozen signs have been destroyed and disposed of and stolen by Brandon Braun, right? A Marine Corps veteran, right? Because it's always the ones closest to you, guys. Remember, it's always the ones closest to you that'll stab you the deepest and stab you the fucking hardest. And, you can't make this shit up, guys. Instead of just letting the best message win, instead of just letting people have an opportunity, everyone has the same opportunity to advertise themselves and to spread their message, and maybe the best argument win, right? Nope, the city of Wayne couldn't have that. The city of Wayne couldn't have that because that's a dangerous precedent. That's dangerous, right? As John Racy said, right? I'm the disgrace of the community and I get to run for city council. Well, that ain't right. That's what he says, right? I mean, and then he used his position to defame me. He used this position to violate my First Amendment rights. He used this position to, try to falsely categorize me as mentally ill and try to insinuate that what you see is mental illness. And it's like, well, is it, John? Are you qualified to make that determination? Because I see a lot of physicians, and the physicians that I see, the physician reports that I have, don't support your claims and your theories, right? The physician reports that I have actually say that I'm very, very articulate, and that one would say I'm a bit of a mad genius, if you will, and that I have a very unique personality and a very unique genetic profile, and that, combine that with my educational background and my training, and you have a recipe for someone who's very disagreeable, who's willing to call bullshit out when he sees it, unapologetically, consistently, equally. And that just so happens to be the thing that, I don't know, some people in Wayne think that we need, right? Some people in Wayne think we need someone to come in and disrupt things and come in and clean house and set order, right? Establish law and order. Establish a standard, a predicate, a public code of values, a public code of behavior for so-called public servants, right? So-called public servants. Because right now in the city of Wayne, they're just so-called public servants. But with your help, like I said, I don't need you to like me on any other issue. But if you want to fix Wayne, if you're tired of the dog shit garbage that you see on a continual, perpetual basis, if you're just sick and fucking tired of watching fat, slobby, worthless people, set up on their altar and talk bullshit and babble and not get anything done. If you're tired of that, if you're just tired of the lies, the deceit, the dancing around issues, if you're just tired of that, just vote for me. That's all you got to do. We don't got to like each other. We don't got to, nothing, right? We just literally got to agree on that one fucking issue, man. That one issue is all that we have to agree on. And if we can agree on that, guys, that whatever we have currently on the Wayne City Council is just simply not getting the fucking job done, and nobody up there seemingly wants to call a spade or call it out or take charge or take control, right? Because John Racy's not a fucking leader. Little John's not a leader of anything other than his own make-believe fantasy Wayne Dispatch newspaper and his wannabe good guy persona, right? Nobody that I've ever spoken to in the graphics printing industry, and I've spoken to a lot of people about John Racy, I have yet to find a single motherfucker, not a singular person, that has a positive thing to say about John Racy. Not a single person. As a matter of fact, I hear the most deplorable things about John Racy. I hear things about John Racy that puts him in his own special category in my brain, right? A special category of scumbag is John Racy, but not just John Racy. He's got a lot of company with him, right? And the city of Wayne is so corrupt, and it's so fucking unconstitutional how they do things, how they operate, that it's a lot quicker and a lot more time effective to just try to identify the people who are not corrupt and who don't fit that profile. But like I said, I can't really tell, man. I mean, it's so corrupt in there, it's so hostile, it's so openly animus and retaliatory that it's hard to tell. But I mean, based off what I've seen, right, based off the fact that seemingly nobody in the city of Wayne is comfortable whatsoever with having a camera on them, right? They're not comfortable with public transparency. They're not comfortable with accountability, right? They're not comfortable with the veteran who served their country trying to bring, transparency to other people, to try to spread the information around so people can know where their tax dollars are going, and they can know where their money is being spent, and how it's being spent, and what it's being spent on, right? And what it's being prioritized for, right? Isn't that about right, guys? But yeah, let's read some of the comments here. Let's read some comments. Sorry, I got on a little bit of a there. And yeah, I agree, Richard Phillips. You look at the face value and the peripherals. Exactly. I take things at face value and I look at all the other things surrounding the situation, right? All the other things surrounding the event. What's going on behind the scenes? What's being put into motion here, right? And I notice it's kind of like you're at a play, right? And I'm noticing all the details that nobody else is paying attention to, basically. Yes, that is accurate assessment, 100%. That's just how my brain works, like right here, right? For instance, right? Here we got another illegal sign, right? My sign was right next to that sign. My sign has been removed. That sign remains. But my sign was removed on May the 18th. May the 18th, my sign from that corner was removed. But that sign remains, right? What do you call that, guys? We call that selective enforcement, right? If you can't have a sign, because that was their excuse. Well, it's on the public easement, even though that's technically, it's really the church property, But okay, if it's public easement, well then why is that there and mine's not? Why is only mine removed, right? But here you go again, right? I'll show you the other one, guys. I'll show you the other one right here. I'll show you right there. Look at that right there. There's the other one right there. You see that one? So that corner, right? That's the corner of Glenwood and John Hicks, right? My sign was there and it has been removed, but that sign remains. And then we go up to the corner of Kingswood Court in Glenwood. And same thing, man. Same thing. Well, my sign was there, now it's gone, and there's not another sign there, but I was the only sign in town on that little corner there. And yeah, I mean, you just I notice the small things, right? Very, like I said, I see through snakes, man. I see through people that are just deceitful, that are just not good people, man. I mean, if you're just deceiving and lying to the public, and you have no issue lying and falsifying documents and using your position to imprison somebody, I mean, that's I can't think of anything more sick than that, right? I mean, honestly, just go to the guy's house and punch him in the face. I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, that would be more admirable than, fucking using your position of power to put a guy in jail. You think he's mentally ill, that's what you're claiming now, right? Well, it's like, if you think he's mentally ill, how would locking him in jail because he didn't follow an open burn policy, as you allege, even though he's not required to follow an open burn policy because it's not an ordinance, it's not a law, and you warrantlessly came on his property to enforce this open burn policy without probable cause, without exigent circumstances, without a warrant, again, without consent, you bypass consent. So that shows bad faith right there. When you're circumventing the consent process, right, which is part of the requirement of the Fourth Amendment, and you're circumventing the knock and talk doctrine, like you have the authority, you have the right to knock and talk on someone's front porch, right? You have a right to enter someone's front porch, right? Assuming there's no gate, there's no trespassing signs, right? Which of course mine says no trespassing, so you're not really technically supposed to do that either. But we'll just say that we'll play devil's advocate for the city of Wayne. We'll say that the city of Wayne has permission to come on the front porch like any other private citizen would, the knock and talk doctrine, right? Well, they're not allowed to extend their search to the backyard. They're not allowed to extend their search to wherever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want. There's constraints for a reason, and those constraints were clearly and unequivocally bypassed, right? All the restraints, right? The consent restraint, the probable cause restraint, the exigent circumstances restraint, and of course the warrant restraint, right? All of those were, bypassed by the city of Wayne. Not one time, right? March 28th of 2024. Not two times, right? May 9th of 2025. Not three times. May 19th of 2025. Not four times. July 5th of 2025 was the fourth warrantless break-in. And then January 9th of 2026 was the fifth and the most recent warrantless search. Now, the only difference between January 9th, the last break-in, and the rest was the city of Wayne retroactively passed their, after sentencing, right, after they prosecuted me and they thought that the case was closed, right, then they went ahead and retroactively okayed their conduct. They passed Ordinance 2025-02, the official first of its kind open burn ordinance in the city of Wayne, right? And the open burn ordinance, well, I bet you they wish they wouldn't have passed that one. I bet you they would have wished they would have kept their fucking mouth shut and not try to get too cute and not try to get too fancy. But Michael Bosnick and Kerry Miller and Jeremy Schneider and all the other idiots that agreed to it and ratified it, they did what they did, right? Which implicates them all, right? That's how fucking stupid these people are. That's how moronically fucking retarded these people are. These people are so moronically retarded that they fucking told on them fucking selves, right, guys? So they were so brazen, right, that they thought, okay, we maliciously prosecuted them, we got them to take a no contest to resisting arrest, and it's a success, it's a win, right? And then they went ahead and retroactively gave themselves permission to do what they did, right, and passed the ordinance, right, saying that they can just come on your property whenever they want, without warrants. They don't even mention the warrant requirement or probable cause. Or it's weird, like, it's so weird to me that, like, they claim that they're acting in good faith, but yet they bypassed every constitutional restraint humanly possible. And they even bypassed their own fucking ordinance, chapter 12.1, right, which is their hazards and nuisances ordinance, which allows for abatement with due process, of course, and notification and all that. But they bypassed that. They bypassed everything. Because for me, as you saw with John Racy here just a few days ago, their contempt, they can't even hide it, guys, that they have towards me, right? It's just outright fucking contempt, hatred, right? Animus that you would not believe, right? Which is, again, you have to ask yourself, well, why? Is it because, I'm not going to say I'm not a difficult personality sometimes, but if you're honest and straightforward with me and you're not being deceptive with me and you're not bullshitting me, like if you're not obviously bullshitting me continuously, I'll get along with you just fine. But if your whole thing is just bullshit, word salad and deception and deceit and delusion and double speak and dancing and tiptoeing around issues and not being direct, if you're being indirect with me, yeah, I don't have any patience for you, and go fuck yourself, right? So, does that make me the best personality for politics? I don't know. I don't fucking know, but enough people like me that they signed my petition to allow me to be on the ballot. I get new supporters every day, and people stop by the house and pick up signs and congratulate me. So I don't fucking know, guys. I don't know. It's not really for me to decide if I should be a city councilman. That's for the people of Wayne, Michigan. But the city of Wayne, Michigan has no authority to block my messaging, to destroy my messaging, and to censor my messaging because they don't want to hear what I have to say, or, they don't have a right to classify anything that I do as mental illness, because, well, that's really unfair. So that sounds like you're discriminating against somebody because of their disability, which is exactly what, the city of Wayne is claiming that I'm mentally ill, and it's like, well, why are you abusing the legal process against a mentally ill person? It just seems kind of strange, like, why would you certificatelessly have someone petition to a psych ward when they're clearly, unequivocally, by your own actions, they're not an imminent threat to life or property or somebody else, right? So you're like, okay, let's just go with your logic here, guys, and we'll just see how unlogical it is. But see, I'm just like I said, I'm just a lightning rod provocateur, right? That's all I am. I have the ability to expose incompetence and malfeasance in real time. Whatever it is about me, I don't know. Like I said, I just think because I pursue the fucking truth relentlessly, and I don't care about your fucking feelings. I care about the law. I care about what's right. I care about what's lawful, what's fucking equal, what's actually constitutional. That's all I care about. I don't give a fuck about feelings. I don't give a fuck about. That's all subjective. That's not concrete. It's not objective. And quite frankly, it's really not that important. World, yeah, you'd like everybody to like you and support you and, praise you and jerk you off under the table and glaze you and tell you, oh, how good you're doing. You're doing such a great job, pat you on the back and shit. But no, that's not what's important to me. My values are, what's the Constitution say? What's the law say? What does common sense say? What does freedom say, right? I mean, that's just how my brain operates. So I'm just not a bootlicker, I guess, and I'm the ultimate anti-bootlicker, even though I don't really think I am. I think I'm probably more pro-police than I used to be, I should say. I used to be pro-police to some extent, right? Like peace officer. I used to be pro-peace officer, solving real fucking crimes, felonious murder and shit, stuff like that, felonious assault, right? Like Lisa Kobani did to me, right? You saw it on video, a felonious assault with a fucking door, right? I mean, at least a misdemeanor assault, simple assault for sure. A battery, right? A battery occurred, and I care about shit like that, right? Real crime, right? Real things, but I see that they don't really solve those sort of, cases anyways, right? And it's not worth the risk to me. Like, I would rather go without police and just defend myself and protect myself and my family than I would trusting it or leaving it up to the police that the Supreme Court's already ruled aren't constitutionally required to protect you anyways. So it's like, what are they technically there for? Well, they're there to protect the state. They're there to protect the government. They're there to protect the status quo. They're not there to protect the Constitution. The Constitution is the Constitution is repugnant to them, right? You understand? The Constitution is the only thing that keeps these fucking tyrants in any sort of line. And even then, they just say, fuck it, we're not paying for it, right? I'm not going to lose my job. It's not my problem. Taxes only go up a few $100, so what? That's how they view it, right? They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about people on fixed incomes. They don't give a fuck about people that are barely getting by, that are working 2 or 3 jobs to try to pay just to pay to live, right? They don't give a fuck about those people. Fuck no, dude. They don't give a flying fuck. Nobody on that city council gives a flying fuck about anybody in the city of Wayne, Michigan. How you're doing, what you're doing, how your life is, the quality of your life. They'll pay lip service to it, of course. They'll pay lip service to it and jerk themselves off under the table and tell each other how good of a job they're doing, even though by all metrics you're doing a horrible job, right? I mean, by any metric you're doing a fucking hellaciously shitty job. But again, I'm just a guy with a camera, right? But I must be more than that, right? For them to defame me like that and talk to me like that, talk about me like that, right? Narrate and characterize you saw it all on video, guys. You saw everything I did on video. At no point in time was there any sort of, racial, fucking pejorative remarks as far as like fighting words or true threats or incitement of violence, right? It was just, I called Gombrowski a veteran killer because he is. And, I opposed the Glaze Fest that I fucking saw, but luckily there wasn't anyone at the Glaze Fest because no one supports that shit. Thank God, right? Thank fucking God nobody supports that garbage. But we'll find out. We'll see how many bootlickers there are and how many, truth seekers there are in Wayne, how many people acknowledge reality and how many people bury their fucking head in the sand. We'll find out, right? We'll find out. But yeah, it was just uncalled for. It was just uncalled for. Like I said, I have 180 seconds to speak. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Let me speak for 180 seconds. Approved me to talk more, which of course you're not going to. Then I guess I'll just have to sit down, right? I mean, that's the rules, right? So they of course, they don't like me talking about certain things, and so that's why they did what they did, right? Because couldn't help themselves but violate my First Amendment, because it's dangerous if people know about me or follow me or check into me or any of that. They'll of course focus on some video where my half black ass called somebody whatever, right? And it's like, hey, sorry, that's just like, I grew up in the streets, I grew up in Flint, I was raised in Montucky, like that's just what it is. Like we talk and we banter, and I should be able to speak freely who I am, unrestrained, right? Without prior restraint, without having to chill my speech. I should be able to talk freely, right? Within reason, of course. I can't incite violence. I can't give true threats, that sort of thing. So that should be the only restrictions. But of course, they got to impose additional procedural policy restrictions against you because Well, how else would they, block your First Amendment fucking right to freedom of speech? So, against the law to lie to Congress, but politicians can lie to the American people. Oh yeah, well, just like vice versa. You can't lie to the police or the court system because that's perjury. But when the police lie on a police report or lie under oath, or a prosecutor lies to the court on a record under oath, falsifies documents like the city of Wayne has done, falsify reports, falsify narratives, right? Completely contradict all of the actual objective video evidence in its entirety. It's just kind of like away with any of that, right? If you make a false report, or they even think it's false, right? Or they can somehow plausibly say it's false, you're doing time. But if they falsify, which they do all the time, right? Lie under oath and maliciously prosecute people, and do they go to jail for it? Do they actually suffer real punitive consequences for it, right? Like an actual consequence, not like, oh, you get a reassignment, or you get a paid vacation, or you get reprimanded and then you get to keep your job, or they send you down to another department. But I'm talking like, did you actually get fired? Did you actually get ostracized from the community? Did you spend significant time in jail? Did you have court costs and fines and fees? And did you have to get on probation? Did you have to, piss in a cup and have a breathalyzer and all that? Did you have to go through all that degrading shit or not? Because if the answer is no, well then it's not justice. It's not equal. It's, quite actually the opposite of that. All right. It's repugnant to, most people find it repugnant, right? Most people, right? Most jurors, right, find it repugnant for government to be able to get away with the same things that would land them in a fucking prison cell, right? So, I don't know. That's my issue with the system, and that's, I guess, what is he so mad about? It's like, well, I'm upset at the fact that Kerry Miller and Michael Bosnick and Chief Finley Carter and Diane Webb and John Racy and all of the city council members and all the department heads, Jeremy Schneider, the fire marshal especially, right? Officer Elzayati, Elzabadi, Gombrowski, right? The same guy who murdered John Zook Jr., all these different people, right? I mean, there's so many, you can't even count them all. And I'm upset at the fact that all these people knew there was no open burn ordinance to enforce, and instead there was just a policy, aka non-ordinance. There was no probable cause. It wasn't possible for them to have probable cause, and they all knew it. They all knew it was only a policy because their City of Wayne website shows just as much. And the body camera footage shows that they all knew. They all fucking knew. Kerry Miller, the city attorney, they all fucking knew. And I believe the Michigan State Police knew as well. Because the Michigan State Police, there's a police report from the City of Wayne where the Michigan State Police says that, or the City of Wayne says they contacted the Michigan State Police, and the Michigan State Police investigators looked into it and they decided not to take the case. But then we go to FOIA the information from the Michigan State Police. Can't find it. Can't fucking find it, guys. Don't exist. Don't exist. They've looked everywhere, they claimed. So either the City of Wayne's lying in their own police report, or the Michigan State Police is lying, or both of them are lying. Who knows, right? So you're just like, huh, interesting, right? But I'm mentally ill. I'm not being conspired against, and there wasn't 5 warrantless break-ins on my property to enforce a law that didn't exist, and warrantless break-ins, right? Unconstitutional, chief evil against the Fourth Amendment break-ins. And then January 9th, where the fire captain, who is, good buddies with the fire chief, with the fire marshal, Jeremy Schneider. How do I know? Well, I've seen him in dozens and dozens of Facebook photos together. And so, the fire captain, which is what? Jeremy Schneider's right-hand man, is on my property at 10 a.m. at night trying to break in. Well, they didn't try to break in. They broke into my property, broke into my house because they had to do a fire pit inspection at 10 o'clock at night. And then, of course, before they go ahead and do this fire pit inspection, they converse with each other and tell each other how they can't see anything from where they're standing. They can't see the fire pit. They can't tell, the condition of it, right? And then they say that this is the fire captain's own words. He just wants to go onto my property just to piss me off. That's the only reason he wants to go. That's what he says, verbatim. I want to go on his property just to piss him off, you know, and that's the only reason I want to go. That's the only reason I want to go. So it's like, hey, I'm lost for words, dumbfounded by it. You know, I'm dumbfounded by the fact that these people are so fucking incompetently stupid that they would say that on a body camera footage. But then you think about it and you look at all their other brazen actions and you're like, well, I mean, clearly they don't give a shit. Clearly they don't give a shit about the money that it's going to cost Wayne taxpayers. Clearly they don't give a shit about the reputational damage. I mean, this is just going to I mean, the city of Wayne didn't have any reputation to begin with. I mean, quite frankly. But, you know, it certainly fucking isn't going to have it now. Because the city of Wayne, unless there's a giant settlement, unless you want to pay me to shut the fuck up, I'm not going to shut the fuck up. And you would have to pay me a check that I don't think the city of Wayne, I don't even fucking think that, you know, like I said, I don't even know at this point, guys, based off what I've went through and what I've had to deal with, I don't think there's a fucking check amount that you could put in front of me where I would not talk about this. I want a record of it. I want it in court early and often and regularly. I want this to be dissected by the court. I want judges to be looking at this shit going, what in the fuck? What in the fuck? You know? And I don't know. I want them to get offended like Judge Plakas was offended by it. Because it is offensive. It's offensive to the world. And I want the people, I want America to know just how fucking evil and corrupt the city of Wayne is. And so that's part of the reason why I'm running for political office. To protect myself and protect my family from these motherfuckers that clearly have it out for me. They clearly want to kill me. There's no doubt about it, guys. I mean, I can look at their demeanor and look at, you know, their menacing, you know, Finley Carter on video, you know, sitting there, you know, just making faces and shit at you. Yeah, I know these people have it out for me. It's abundantly obvious. You don't break into someone's house 5 times and you don't fucking maliciously prosecute somebody, right, for a year, right, if you don't have it out for somebody. And then I'm supposed to believe, oh, it's just going to stop there, guys. It's just all going to stop there. And the civil rights violations aren't going to continue. Of course, they have continued. They're continuing and continuing and continuing and continuing. You know, May 19th, 2025, May 19th, 2026, you know, there's so many fucking dates. You know, it's a miracle. I can even keep track of it all, right? But, yeah, when you're fucking traumatized by people, repeatedly traumatized, you tend to remember certain key details. Your last live, someone had an excellent idea about your stolen sign. Let the local news station know. That's a great story to air. Yeah, I mean, I might have to, right? I might have to start begging, right? This Memorial Day, or straight after Memorial Day, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm at this point, guys, I'm willing to do whatever the fuck it takes. If you have a suggestion, if you have an idea, if you just think it might work, right? Please send me a fucking email. JerichoFlowers81@gmail.com. JerichoFlowers81@gmail.com. And please, or just put the fucking comment here, you know. But local news station, even a local non-biased talk radio. Yeah, I'm gonna have to really start, you know, fucking start trying, right? Try harder. That's all you can do. Try harder. Letters to the editor in a local newspaper, like you said, unalived, this better for the algorithm. Yeah, all about officer safety. Yeah, well, of course, you know, that's their shield, right? And then if that fails, then it's qualified immunity, and if that fails, then it's just buy off the judge, buy off the opposing counsel. If that fails, just refuse to pay the money. If that fails, take sanctions and still refuse to pay the money. If that fails, file another frivolous appeal. If that fails, file another frivolous appeal with taxpayer money, of course. And so, yeah, that's the strategy. Deny, delay until they die, right? Just like the VA, right? Well, they can take the same sort of playbook, right? I think people knowing you have a degree in psychology is an attribute to your campaign. I mean, hey, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm not going to sit up here and say that I'm a fucking, you know, I'm Jordan B. Peterson or somebody. But yeah, I do have an organizational psychology degree, and I do have quite literally at least 2 solid decades of experience rooting out deceitful and corrupt people, and I've been trained to do it, right? And that's ultimately what obviously I'm fairly good at it. Obviously I struck a nerve or strike nerves regularly. I strike nerves regularly, right? Thanks, Gregory, for you could have just inspected my deck, dude, and you guys could have fixed my sidewalk and not left it fucked up for over a year in front of my house. If you would have just done like your basic civics, we wouldn't know each other. We would never have known each other. I would have never even went down to a city council meeting because, well, that's some boring ass stupid shit anyways. As because you trespassed against me. I mean, you trespassed a month after I moved to my fucking house. I mean, I never even had freedom in this fucking city, not even for a month, right? Within a month, the city of Wayne, had broken into my house, right? Had broken into my backyard to enforce a law that doesn't exist, to extinguish a smoldering log, not a fire pit, just the log in the fire pit, a big old fucking 5 foot or 6 foot by 6 foot fire pit that was already approved when I bought the house. The point of sale inspection, or the certificate of occupancy inspection is what they call it. So, of course, I have all my receipts. The city of Wayne has none. Now we have a tax tribunal case coming up because the city of Wayne tried to retroactively 8 months after approving it. So I got my disabled veteran tax exemption approved in 2024 by the city because that was the first thing I did when I moved to Wayne, as I went down there and filed for that. I believe the same day it may have been. And of course in 2025 I filed, it was either January or February, but it was early, right? And then they changed it to where you don't have to refile every year. But because of all the shenanigans that happened in 2025, I refiled again in 2026. Still haven't heard nothing, right? Conveniently enough, here we are. I filed that, months ago. But yeah, in 2025, it was already approved in 2024, and 2025 it was approved, right? I think it was in January or February, March it may have been at the latest, but it was approved earlier in the year, and then in September it was retroactively denied, retroactively stripped away from me because the city used my rental registration paperwork as the basis to deny my exemption, right? So the exemption allows for a total tax break of your homestead, right? Of your primary homestead. And of course, this is the only property that I own in the state, and really in the United States. And this is where I live. This is where I vote. This is where, my license says, my utility bills, my phone bill, the VA, everything. So I definitely live here, but the city of Wayne tax assessor that because I registered my property as a, which is just amazing logic, because in that same rental registration paperwork, it has my house listed as an owner-occupied boarding house. So keyword there being owner-occupied. So I'm perplexed by how they looked at the same document that I looked at, but conveniently missed the fact that it clearly says it's owner-occupied. And then they used a Facebook posting, right, that has a room listed for rent. And apparently that was some sort of proof that a room listed for rent, not a house, but a room, right? So renting a room out in your house was, or having a Facebook page that demonstrates that a room is being sought for rent. Not that a room is rented, but that a room that it's posted, it's advertised for rent, right? That was the basis for the denial. The fact that I had a rental registration, a rental property registration, because the city ordinance requires it. The city ordinance requires you to have that. And so, of course, I try to be compliant with, any law, whether I agree with them or not, whether they're constitutional or not. I always try to comply with the law the best of my ability, because, well, fuck, it's just kind of easier to go along to get along sometimes. But, I generally try to follow the law anyways. And, I did, right? I was told that I have to get this rental registration paperwork, and so I did, and then they used that as the basis to deny my benefit, to take away my tax exemption. While I was sitting in jail being maliciously prosecuted and all that, they took my pool away from me and ordered me to take that down, and because it was a life safety hazard, right? So I had to either comply with their ordinance or I had to take it down, right? And that was interesting. So, um, I don't know. I filed my motion I filed my motions with the courts, and now we're just waiting on that. I mean, I haven't had great success in federal U.S. District Court yet, but I haven't lost anything. So, we'll see how, thing goes. But, it's really unnecessary. It's unnecessary that a disabled veteran, especially around Memorial Day, has to go through that. My family has to go through that. And we're not afforded the opportunity to, speak our truth, right? Have our voice, have our fucking say. Even though, we're a military family, ironically enough, the irony, you can't understate it with the city of Wayne. You really can't understate the cruelty and the unnecessariness of all of it, right? Because it really is unnecessary. It really is. You were a prisoner of war in your own town. Yeah, essentially. Yep. Essentially, I was a political prisoner. I was prisoner of war. I was quite literally banished from my community, banished from my own home, right? Not just from the community, but banished from my own fucking home for months. And then I was held in jail without bond at all, guys. Just think of that, guys. I was in jail with people that were on their third or fourth or fifth or sixth felony, violent felonies too, gun charges, domestic assault, domestic violence, right? Like felonious shit, right? Not misdemeanor, not petty level, ordinance violations, but felonies. And these people were getting GPS tethered out with personal reconnaissance bond, right? Or maybe they had to put up like $5,000, 10% of that, $500, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm sitting in jail with no bond at all. Just sitting in jail. Yep. For a crime that I couldn't even have possibly committed because there was no enforceable ordinance anyways. And of course, everything would be suppressed and be fruit of the poisonous tree anyways, because, you didn't have a warrant and you can't use that. So, I mean, quite literally, they knew they had no case. They knew that, and then they withheld exculpatory evidence. They withheld discovery really throughout the whole case, right? And then they lied to the court and said they had provided all the discovery I requested, which, of course, that's just a bold-faced lie. They never provided any open burn history, right? Because they didn't want to talk about the open burn policy. It was funny. On the first day of court, not minus the arraignment, right? But the first pretrial hearing on July 10th, the city of Wayne, they blitz attacked my counsel. They showed up with the fire chief, not the fire marshal, of course, conveniently enough, the fire chief, right? They show up with the fire chief. They show up with witnesses, and they present a copy of the open burn policy to the judge and to my counsel. And boy, I wish I would have been pro se for that, man, because that whole hearing would have went a completely different way. There would have been no malicious prosecution. I would have been, set free, vindicated from the charge, and everything would have been completely different. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, get the beatings out of the way early, right? Take the blows early, I guess. Take the blows often. Get them out the way. I guess in the grand scheme of things, in the long-term scheme of things, I think it was more beneficial, right, for me to have experienced that, rather than, if I would have been pro se, I would have pointed out the fact that this wasn't an open burn ordinance, this wasn't enforceable law, that quite literally the predicate for breaking into my house without a warrant was to enforce a law that don't exist. And then the same law that don't exist, this open burn policy, it cites an ordinance 1278 and 1278.07 that have been repealed. So you're like, Well, that's a bit of a key fact to know. Which, of course, I told Jermaine Warwick, my counsel, which, of course, he conveniently didn't. He took on as many cases as he could, and he didn't give a fuck, and he never even reviewed anything that I gave him, and he's just a thief that took my money and didn't uphold my rights. And had I known, I would have just represented myself, which is what I ultimately wanted to do. But you're getting, you gotta have a lawyer, and it's like, lawyers can hurt you in some cases, and my case is a prime example of it. And so instead of, telling the court, hey, this isn't an open burn ordinance, this is a policy, this clearly, as we all clearly can see, there is no ordinance number, no date of ratification, no date of enactment. And as you can clearly fucking see, there's run-on sentences on it, punctuation errors. This is not codified law. Anybody at all, like, I noticed it, but 4 lawyers, judge, prosecutor, and my lawyer didn't know. Nobody knew. And Michael Bosnick didn't know either. Kerry Miller didn't know. Michael Bosnick didn't know. Those are both the City of Wayne city attorneys. Nobody knew. Nobody knew anything, guys. Nobody knew. 4 lawyers. All just a big coincidence. The judge missed it. The court administrator missed it, right? She doesn't even know what a discovery demand is, right? She refuses to acknowledge the discovery demands from Jermaine Warwick. She's got the appearance on there, the appearance and demands. It's a 2-page piece of paper, but just funny stuff going on in Wayne, Michigan. But I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm the mentally ill one for daring to take notice, right? Yeah. Well, gangster rap made me do it, guys. Ice Cube, gangster rap made me do it. You're looking at the Grand Wizard, right? Blame me, guys. We want to blame somebody for why the city of Wayne sucks dick, why it's unlivable, while it's becoming more and more uninhabitable, right? Well, hey, I'll be the blame. You guys want to blame somebody for the $2 million budget deficit and the lack of police service and the lack of fire service and just the lack of fucking decency in general, anything to take civic pride in? You can just blame me for it. It's simpler to just blame me than it is for the city of Wayne to look in the mirror and realize that they've been a shithole for 30 or 40 fucking years at least, since the days of Al Hanus. And then John Racy's just a legacy of Al Hanus. That's all he is, right? So we're just supposed to ignore reality, guys. We're just supposed to ignore the last 25 years of mediocrity and of piss poor performance and debt, scandals, lawsuits, fraud, civil rights abuses. We're all just supposed to sweep it under the rug and talk about something positive, right? Because that's what's that's what's important, right, guys? Yeah. You fucking joke, man. Give me a break, guys. I hope somebody out there is listening, and I hope you can see through this shit, guys. I hope you can see through this shit, people of Wayne. I really, really do. I really, really do. Yeah, well, joggers, right? Felonious, what do we call it? Felonious joggers, right? Felonious ninjas, right? But they love giving awards for doing their jobs. Well, not even doing their jobs, right? Literally just like, hey, fucking, they wrote a ticket or they arrested somebody, like, this is my response. Like, okay, like, they ran into the church, right? They have like a 10-second video of the police run into the church, right? After, of course, the threat was already neutralized. It happened right down the road from me on Glenwood Road. Cross Point Church down the street from me. There was someone who tried to shoot it up, and the people of the church took good care of him. He didn't harm anybody, and he was dealt with swiftly. And then the police came through to clean up, and the threat was already neutralized. And of course, they took credit for it, of course, which is just again sickening that you would take any credit for any of that. If anyone should have gotten an award for that, it should have been the people at the church, right? Not fucking a bum ass police officer that showed up after the guy was already fucking dead and ran over, right? So again, the police are not obligated to protect you. They're under zero obligation from the Supreme Court. As the Supreme Court has ruled, they don't have to protect you. It's not their policy, their protocol, their procedure. that is to protect themselves and their best interest, right? And that's it. Anything that challenges or threatens that power apparatus must be dealt with swiftly, whether it's malicious prosecution, whether it's false mental health petitions, whether it's defamation of character, right? Whether it is election interference, right? Whatever it is, right? That is the tactic, right? Because we just can't allow for free dialogue in this country. I mean, it's just certain people are not allowed to have dialogue. Are they criminals? No, but they're harassing me for over 2 years. They have no criminal record really to speak of, but again, we're going to defame a veteran right before Memorial Day because we care about people, right? And then we're going to talk about how good we treat people, even though you've abused everyone on that city council, right? You abused me, and I'm a symbol of the city of Wayne. I'm a disabled veteran, medically retired combat veteran who's dedicating a portion of my property to John Zook Jr., the disabled combat veteran that you guys unalived on June 18th, 2024, and tried to cover it up and tried to excuse it, and the same motherfucking officer's still working. And then on May 9th, 2025, he showed up at my house in my backyard without a warrant, without consent, without probable cause, without exigent circumstance, and bypassed every constitutional restraint he possibly fucking could in order to violate my fucking rights and to give me a charge of interference, right? A secondary charge without a predicate charge. You know, it's fucking sick. Sick. You guys want to set up there and talk about mental illness and veterans. Fuck you, scum ass pig bitches. That's my message to you, City of Wayne City Council. Fuck you. You are fucking deplorable human beings, every single one of you, and you should all resign with your fucking pussy ass. You are all. That's what you all are a bunch of spineless fucking cucks who will do anything to uphold the status quo rather than tell the fucking truth, a simple truth, that you never had probable cause to charge me on May 9th, or May 10th for that matter, that you conspired to do it, and you got caught by Judge Plakas at the 35th District Court. He fucking caught you because you told on yourselves, because you're fucking malicious, moronic pieces of imbecile trash. That's what you are. You're just a bunch of idiotic trash. Idiotic trash, right? Morally bankrupt people. How do I know that? Because I went to Georgia Military College, guys. Listen to this. I have a master's degree in organizational psychology, right? I got my undergraduate degree at Georgia Military College in Milledgeville, Georgia, Michigan. The best college in the United States of America. And I learned everything that I fucking know at Georgia Military College. And you know what Georgia Military College taught me? Character above all. Duty, honor, country. I will not lie to those who do. You understand what that means, City of Wayne? Have you figured it out yet, cuck bitches? Have you lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do? I will never leave a fallen comrade. I will never quit. I will never surrender. Do you understand what that means, motherfuckers? Do you really understand what it means? Do you live it and breathe it? Are you willing to die for it? Because I am. I am, cuck bitches. And fuck you. That's my message to you. City of Wayne City Council, City of Wayne Police and Fire Department, department heads, all of you. You don't like what I stand for? You think I'm a disgrace to this community? You haven't seen nothing yet, buddy. You haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen a goddamn fucking thing yet. You haven't seen nothing yet. What I got in store for each and every one of you. Deplorable sacks of shit. And it's all legal. It's all First Amendment protected. It's all court of public opinion type stuff. But I don't know. You want to see the nigga come out of me? You want to see the nigga come out of me? Well, I'll show you. I'll show you the nigga. I'll show you the white nigga. I'll show you the nigga you're not ready for. The nigga that you have no idea. You have no idea the plans that I have for each and every one of you. The plans that I have politically for each and every one of you. You have no idea. And I don't even have an idea yet. I still got to think about it. I still got to process the trauma that I had to go through, right? Being ripped out of City Hall because you asked a question about the budget, right? And then got defamed in front of the whole city because, God forbid, McFarlin gets his 180 seconds to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. God, counsel, well, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Yeah, it's just wrong. Yeah, I think it's wrong because you guys have something to hide. That's why I think it's wrong. And that's why I think you guys are so worried, because you guys got a lot to hide. And you got a lot of skeletons in your closet that you want to keep in the closet. And you got a lot of dust under the rug that you want to keep under the rug, right? And here I come, like a termite coming for your house, just munching away at your foundation. Munching away. Munch, 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 munch. And the irony behind it all is the city of Wayne's got nobody to blame but their fucking selves. They could have left me the fuck alone. They could have let me live in peace. They could have not harassed me and my fucking family time and time and time and time again. So you know what? I thought to myself, you know what? They want to come on my property and violate my rights. Why don't I go protest? Why don't I go exercise my rights on their property? Right? Why don't I go take the fight to them? Right? Fair is fair, right? Equal is equal, right? 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law, right? Yeah. Prove a point. I'll prove more points. And when I'm done, we're done when I say we're done. You understand, City of Wayne? You understand how that goes? When I say that we're done, we're done. But we're not done at all. We're just getting started. We're just lubing it up. We're just lubing it up. We haven't even gotten started yet, guys. We're just giving them a little taste of what they've given people for so many fucking decades, which is shit. Now the shit's being shoveled back uphill. They're used to throwing the shit downhill. Now the shit's being tossed right back at them uphill, and the people are fucking tired of it. And the people have a police force that works for them, right? That actually, acts in their best interest, right? And we want real services, because if we can't get real services, then we don't need to pay for them, right? We can just have a volunteer. We'll just have to have volunteers. We'll just have to recruit people to fill the void, right? We'll have to tighten our boot. We'll have to tighten our belt, guys, right? We'll figure it out. We're Michiganians. We're built to survive. But we're not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here. I don't know about you guys. You guys don't want to vote for me. You guys want to vote for me. You guys are on the fence. Cool. You want to have a conversation. You want to talk about a particular issue that's most important to you. We can talk about it. It's an open door. It's always there on public record. So that's just the facts. If you don't like what I stand for, well, no hair off my back, guys. All good. All good. But don't be violating my rights, because that's, like I said again, I'm not tolerating. Not tolerating. I'm not putting up with it. And we're done playing around with my life and with my family's life and my freedom and my liberties and all that. It's just, enough is enough. You guys want to call a truce? Well, you guys know what you got to do. Return my signs, right? That'd be a good start, right? Return my political signs that you stole and destroyed, right? That you had no actual lawful statutory authority to do so, right? And of course, the First Amendment protects my signs from people like you just deciding, oh, well, he don't get to have his message. We don't want him to have his message. Clearly, you guys don't want me to have the message. Clearly. So, that's what's coming. So it's coming. It's got to come. It's got to come. Whether it just be to prove a point, whether it be to win. I mean, of course, we always want to win. You know, there's plenty of merit to our argument. There's plenty of facts on our side. So whether we win or lose, really, I'm just here to give an ounce of transparency. Hopefully, the city of Wayne will slip up and continue to do and say stupid shit, and it'll continue to be displayed to the world. That's what I care most about. That's what I care most about. The fucking truth. And that's it. Not what you think happened, not what you would have liked to have happened, not what you ideally think happened or ideally wanted to happen or could have happened or should have happened or, you know, any of that. I care about the fucking truth, what's constitutional, what's lawful, and that's it. That's it. And obviously, that is a very, very unpopular opinion amongst those in power. That's what I've noticed. I've noticed that. Now, an ordinary person, right, of ordinary firmness, would they would have quit a long time ago. But unfortunately, I was built for this. I was built for war. I was built for struggle. I was built for conflict, and I was built to survive. And survive I will. But will the city of Wayne survive? Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen, but appreciate your guys' time. Appreciate the engagement. I do believe your constitutional protected rights were violated at the council meeting. Yeah, of course they were. I mean, you know, of course they were. Thank you. You need long on audits, billboard van. Yeah, I heard about his ban. I heard it wasn't doing too well or something. The mayor violated the law by using public resources to make a political statement in his election in his elected position as mayor during an open meeting pursuant to Michigan law. The statement he made when he said, "Don't vote for that guy." That's your campaign slogan. Don't vote for that guy. Yeah. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna go make some signs that say that. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Don't vote for that guy. I like that. I like that. Malicious compliance. I like that. He's not that great of a mayor. I never even heard of him. No, he's a fucking joke. Obviously, if you've never heard of him, he ain't running anything, right? I've been watching you. You're a smart guy. The sign was on the public right. That sign was on the public right of ways. Was yours? Doesn't the homeowner technically own the curb? They have to maintain the sidewalk. Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly my point. Exactly my point. If there's no sidewalk, then you're actually putting the sign on someone's private property. I think you got a good chance of winning. When's the next time people can run for mayor? 2028. 2028. 2028. You look like nutcase. Cool, Caleb. Cable dog. Okay. Entitled to your opinion, buddy. Entitled to your opinion. But I think you look like a cock. I can't see it, but just based on your short-sighted statement. Someone needs to check these guys' computer. Someone needs to check this guy's computer. Yeah, of course, you know, because you can't argue the facts of them. You can't argue the merit of the arguments, right? So of course you have to resort to pejorative attacks and insinuating that people are PDF files and all that, you know. I mean, that's a typical tactic though, right? Pejorative language and the such, right? When you don't actually have a real argument, when you don't actually have any substance to what you're saying, when you can't refute what's being said, just call the guy a PDF file, right? And incite violence, that's actually inciting violence against people. Say, oh, he should check somebody's computer, right? I mean, that's you're insinuating that someone is doing something just irredeemable and that you should do something about it, right? It's a call to violence, is what it is. You know, you look like a nutcase. Okay, that's not a call to violence, but saying you should check somebody's computer, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a call to violence. That's pushing it there, but again, knock yourself out. Have an opinion. This guy is a combat veteran. I guess they figure they can say I'm sorry all the time. You rock. Heinous and racy don't sound good. Oh no, they're fucking scum, dude. You mentioned me of that other military citizen auditing Matan. He knows Josh from Accountability for All, almost the same story, and he got the whole police force fired and the mayor. Yeah, but who fires them, right? In this council manager system, right? The person who can do the hiring and the firing, well, that's done by the city manager, who has to be elected or selected rather by the city council. So, kind of getting someone to fire themselves there, yeah, good luck. But no, hopefully they'll just quit. Hopefully they'll just realize that, hopefully they'll be too embarrassed. Hopefully eventually, but they don't feel shame though. That's the thing. Instead of feeling shame like a normal person does, they just decide, well, we'll just continue to violate his rights and maybe do another false petition, maybe try a false PPO against them, maybe, like I said, if all else fails, just come over to his house, claim he, was reaching, and then pew, pew, pew. You guys can do the inference, right? Just claim he was reaching, right? Just come to my house and claim I had some big old open fire that had to be put out. There was just no other option. It had to be put out. Has to be, right? Just it's like this false dichotomy, right? It's got to be put out, et cetera, right? So, yeah, I mean, plausible deniability to unalive somebody is all the name of the game is now in the police department, the police force. It's just really the name of the game. Right? The name of the game is to narrate somebody into a threat so you can justify using deadly force against them, right? Claim they're mentally ill, which of course no police officer, unless they have a fucking psychology degree, they have a PhD in clinical psychology, or they're a psychiatrist, they're not qualified to mentally evaluate somebody anyways, right? But again, we'll just pretend that reality is not reality, guys, and we'll just pretend that a spade isn't a spade, and we'll just, it's like the old saying, right? If you say a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, right? And if you lie long enough, and you do it with enough repetition, it'll eventually, it's kind of like speak it into existence, right? I mean, that's right. Oh yeah, he's crazy. He's a veteran. He's got PTSDs. He's intimidating. He's violent. He's harassing people, which is, of course, that's the defamation of character, because I've never been charged with harassment or convicted of harassment. Anything that I may have been charged with, well, that's all been dismissed and acquitted and disposed of. So again, speaking without actually, and then of course you pull my criminal background check, which, again, I'll freely post it to anyone who wants to see it. It's blank, so you're just like, huh. Like, that is fucking interesting. That is interesting. But it's really not that interesting, guys. I mean, it's really quite predictable and kind of boring, actually. I wish that we could kind of, move forward in Wayne so we can actually discuss and do more pressing matters, right? I wish we could just I wish the city of Wayne would just wake up, pull the crack pipe out of their mouth, say, yup, we violated his rights. It's all on video. Everybody knows it. We know it. He knows it. We just come to a reasonable agreement. Some people that violated my rights are at least fired, right? I mean, fuck. I mean, I'm not asking for much, guys. Just fire the wrongdoers. If you actually really are about, the Constitution, you'll criminally charge them and hold them accountable, and, all that. Give them 5 cases or whatever. But I know you guys aren't going to do that. I know it's just a pipe dream and it's a waste of oxygen to even say it. You guys are going to double down like you always have on the constitutional rights abuses and violations, and now you're going to start with the election interference and the suppression of speech and everything. Right? You're just going to continue to take down signs and destroy property and censor messages and use your public platform to tell people who they should and should not vote for, right? Which is a total violation of the law. Common sense would tell you that, but again, then of course the defamation of character statements, right, and all that. Falsely claiming he's been harassed for over 2 years without any sort of proof of that. Of course, no criminal records to confirm that at all. So it kind of makes you beg the question, well, that seems an awfully like defamation of character. It seems an awfully like unsubstantiated claims that you're using while in your elected position, right before a meeting ends, right, public comment from council, and you're the leader of the council. You're basically the head executive figurehead of the city. Plus, you run a city newspaper called the Wayne Dispatch, but you'll call it a private newspaper. You'll say it's a private newspaper. Your name's on it, but when you look at it, it looks like a city newspaper. But hey, regardless of whether what it is, it's still the fact of the matter is you're effectively acting as the official voice for the city, and you're telling people not to vote for a veteran because you're falsely claiming he's doing criminal things that, of course, is easily verifiably false. And it's false, John. It's false, but that didn't stop you from lying and defaming and all that. So we will see how that goes, right? But we're definitely going to be filing some 1983s for that, because that's really that's election tampering. I mean, that's early stage election tampering, and that's a lot of things. I don't know exactly what it is yet. Legally speaking, I have to do a little bit more legal research and all that, but it's pretty dicey. I think there's something there to file a lawsuit over for sure, because it's kind of fucked up, especially when you look at the whole context of how the meeting went, and the fact that I was physically removed without actually disturbing the peace of any kind, and not being disorderly, not even raising my voice, just trying to have a conversation and speak my truth. But you're not allowed to speak your truth. You're only allowed to speak the official narrative truth. The official narrative truth, right? Which is ignore, delay, and deny. Of course. You remind me of that. Yeah. Peckerhead. What up, Peckerhead? I unfortunately gotta let you guys get going. Gotta look into this assault and battery by Lisa Kobani. Of course, it's on their video too. Good luck, trying to get that video. Good luck trying to get that. But I, of course, have it on video, but I gotta get a body camera. It's too risky, man. I gotta get multiple cameras, dash cameras everywhere, body cameras everywhere. I mean, I gotta be fucking lit up like a Christmas tree, man, because it is way too risky in Wayne to be riding around with just a phone, or even two phones, right? I mean, it is risky business, man, out here, and it could cost you your life, man. Just like I said, existing in your backyard can cost you your life, right? So, yep, I see that the city of Wayne is not going to uphold the Constitution. They're not going to respect constitutional case law. They are going to double down on their civil rights violations. And so I got to prepare myself. I got to prepare myself for anything and everything, and use all my military training to my advantage. And it's time to go to war, guys. Time to go to war. But we knew it was coming. I mean, we'd been knowing it was coming. I knew when I watched the body camera of the murder of John Zook Jr., the unaliving of John Zook Jr., I knew full well what I was getting myself into. But again, some things are bigger than your life, right? Some things are bigger than, a lot of things, right? Some things are bigger than you can see. And again, that is just the crux of the issue, man. And so, I don't know. I still see signs up on Michigan Avenue, illegally installed signs, Westchester Towers, now leasing, got 3 of them out front. Again, no surprise, selective enforcement is alive and well in the city of Wayne, and apparently is no signs of slowing down. No signs of slowing down. They said it themselves. You have to keep it positive. Don't talk about rats or all the other problems. Hey, look, at our over 500,000, you know. Oh yeah, don't worry about anything. It's got to be positive community news, and of course they get to determine what positive community news is. Right? They get to be the arbitrary of truth. They get to make up the definitions of words. They get to, write the script in its entirety, and you're nothing but a mere spectator in their transcript, right? Into their play, right? Their screencast, right? You're just nothing more than a puppet, right? So they think, and when you don't act like a puppet, they take offense to it, because, in the city of Wayne, it's very simple. If you exercise your constitutional rights, you will be retaliated against. You will pay a severe price for it. And I mean, it's abundantly clear and abundantly obvious. And we have so much history, recent history, to point to. Abraham Hughes, 2028. Mark Blackwell, 2022. Anthony Miller, 2024. Murder of John Zook Jr., 2024. DeVincent McFarlin, 2025 and 2026. And probably 2027 and 2028. You guys see where this is going to go. Because, like I said, anything other than having to admit you're wrong, right, City of Wayne? Anything other than having to admit fault in your legal logic, right? Your plausible, because I mean, fuck, at least state, hey, we thought the policy was an ordinance, we fucked up, right? I mean, at least give me some lie, right? No, they'll just ignore, delay, and deny until you die. That's all they'll do. Or they'll take you out yourself, because you're a problem. You've been a problem for us for a while and for a long time. And, they gotta deal with you. They gotta deal with you how they see fit. That's just kind of the way it's got to be, guys. Because they said so. Because they said so, and they are they're the truth, and nothing else is. And so they say, don't vote for that guy, right? Just don't vote for that guy. Don't vote for that guy. Yeah. Well, I take pride in that. Coming from John Racy, because John Racy is a piece of shit. So that is a rite of passage for me. That is an honor to have him say that about me, because, well, it really kind of explains what's been going on a little bit more than what he thought. He said a little too much. I know he's probably regretting that one, but I'm not regretting it at all. I'm very very satisfied with his remarks. Obviously, I'm discouraged and disappointed and threatened by it somewhat. Because it is. He's the mayor of the city, calling me the communal disgrace, right? I mean, if that's not a call to violence, I mean, that's kind of fucked up, man. To talk about a distinguished, disabled, medically retired combat veteran, that's kind of wild shit, man. Especially right before Memorial Day, while they sit there and give lip service to veterans. Can't make this shit up, guys. Can't make it up in Wayne. Obviously I'm a problem, and obviously problems got to be dealt with, right? Obviously. So I wonder how they're going to deal with me, the problem, next. Is it going to be murder next, or is it going to be another false mental health petition, or another false PPO, or what's it going to be next? Are you going to take the over or under on that? More criminal charges, right? Because they got to, of course, charge me before I file my lawsuit, right? Is that the plan on Monday or Tuesday? We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what occurs. Well, no. Well, we probably won't, because we have a history of not getting discovery and not getting anything at all. Not even being notified that you're charged with a crime until your arraignment, right? Like how do you plead not guilty guilty, no contest. And you're like, I don't even know what I'm charged with, and I don't have any discovery, and I would like that before I even proceed with anything. And I don't know. Big Sausage from Canada. What up, Big Sausage from Canada? What part of Canada are you from, buddy? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Please do all that good shit if you don't mind, everybody. And yeah, please spread my message if you can. Spread it to local news for me. Of course, I'm going to as well. But yeah, it's kind of getting to the point where it's getting a bit out of control. It's been out of control, really. But due to no fault of my own, I'm just out here using my rights, and the rights that I fought and almost died for. Yeah, those rights, those constitutional rights that I fought for, personally fought for, that those people didn't fight for, that they're trying to remove from me because, apparently, like I said, I'm a problem, guys. I'm a big problem. I'm the disgrace of the community, even though Zillow and Redfin say otherwise. Zillow and Redfin say that I have literally the greatest property in the city, the most valued property in the city, the most distinguished property in the city, and one could argue I'm probably the most popular person in the city of Wayne. And so I don't know. The disgrace of the community, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. Definitely haven't kind of been forced to put myself into controversies because when you're being maliciously prosecuted, right, that's a molestation of your rights. You didn't ask to be maliciously prosecuted. That's something that they just decided to do. And so, unfortunately, you kind of have to act absurd when you're being absurdly and maliciously and vindictively and retaliatorily prosecuted for literally just existing in your backyard, existing on a 300 by 500 foot property, the biggest in Wayne, with a soon-to-be first body of water in over 100 years in the city of Wayne. Matter of fact, it's the first body of water ever in the city of Wayne. We're not even going to acknowledge Carpenter Lake, right? That was 100 fucking years ago, and the city of Wayne doesn't want to acknowledge it, so we're just going to treat it like it never existed, right? Because that's what the city of Wayne does. They can just imagine it, and boom, it's reality now. So, first ever body of water, Zook Pond, coming to the city of Wayne, coming soon. We're just waiting on a Wayne County permit. And, yeah. Sorry what happened to John Zook Jr., but I'm certainly going to make sure that everybody remembers him. And everybody remembers veterans, right? Veterans Pond, Zook Pond, what people sacrificed and fought for, myself included. And I'm not going to compare myself to John Zook because I couldn't even hold John Zook's jock strap. If you want me to be totally fucking honest, people, John Zook Jr. is a real hero to me. He's a ghetto hero to me. That's who John Zook Jr. is. John Zook Jr. is my ghetto hero. Right? I never knew the guy. Never spoke to him, but he's a brother in arms, and he did some really courageous shit, and he was in 101st Airborne or the 82nd Airborne. I have to look. Remember, I think it was the 82nd. Yeah, true hero. Gone decades too soon. Decades and decades too soon. But that's what happens when that's what happens when that's what happens when you're maliciously prosecuted. When your back's against the wall and you're kind of forced into a corner, you kind of have to, kind of gotta, It's okay. I wouldn't want you to break a nail. Caught. Was I waiting for the spot? No, I wasn't waiting in this big bright car for 10 minutes before you even showed up. No, you can have it. You can have it. I'll go to the next gas station. Better yet, don't spend my money in Wayne, Michigan. That's a better idea. And I encourage everybody in the city of Wayne to do that. Don't spend $1 here. The quicker it collapses, the quicker it crumbles, the better. Right? The more we can move on, we can rebuild from the rubble and we can actually have a real functioning city, because kicking the can down the road is not a viable solution. And it's all good. It's all good. No worries. No worries at all. I wouldn't want to see white women break nails, so I'll just, like I said, white women are a protected species in America. Not white men, of course. White men are fucking vilified in America. But, yeah, white women are a protected treasure in America. You can't criticize them. You're not allowed to make them uncomfortable. You're not allowed to record them, or it's harassment. It's crazy. So, whenever I'm dealing with a Karen, I just, I just deal with it how I want. And there it goes again, right? They just continuously they hop in like sardines, right? They just hop in. That's the problem with Michigan in general. It's just a lot of really shitty people in here in this state, man. It really is. But that's America in general. People that just don't care. They don't pay no mind to anything. They'll just cut you in line. They'll cut you off in traffic. Not think anything of it. And then point at you like you're the problem for being upset about them trying to endanger your life, or you're sitting waiting at a gas station pump, and you're waiting in line, and somebody will just cut in front of you, because why not? Why not, guys? Why the fuck not? Because there's no decorum in America no more. There's no decorum, no standards, no nothing. Just a bunch of empty promises. The Constitution of the United States, which, great on paper. Nice piece of paper. Too bad it's not really worth the paper it's written on anymore, because, unfortunately, the powers that be can also get to decide that it's not relevant or something, I guess. So they get to decide what is relevant and what's not relevant. They're also the arbiters of truth, right? They get to decide what is truth, what's not. And they also get to decide to not hold their own to the same standard that they hold you to, right? So what a great system we have in America. Isn't it great? Isn't qualified immunity lovely? Isn't it lovely knowing that if you're a taxpayer and the police violate your rights, the city is going to spend your tax dollars to defend the violation of your rights, and they're going to spend money to prosecute you for the unfortunate luck of having your rights violated? Isn't that lovely that you're going to not only have your rights violated, but you're going to be criminally charged for the convenience of it, and then your tax dollars are going to be used to fund your prosecution against you, right? Your tax dollars are going to be used to fund your prosecution. And then assuming you win, assuming you survive, the onslaught of malicious prosecution, assuming you win that and survive that, and you can, it's kind of like you can go to the next boss, right, in the video game, assuming you can go to the next level, right, of Pokemon or Mario Galaxy or whatever you're playing, right? You can go to the next level. Well, then they're going to spend your tax dollars to defend them violating your rights. So you're going to fund not only the prosecution, and you're going to fund the direct violation of your rights, because you're paying for the police department and all that, and you're paying property taxes. So you're quite literally funding your own trauma, right? And then you're going to be forced to represent yourself, because I don't know why, because I guess it's just the way, it's kind of how things are in America nowadays. Everything's just kind of falling apart. Everything's just kind of like really shitty service. And so why would you expect the court or or just lawyers in general to be an exception to that, right? I mean, you're asking for a lot nowadays. So, but yeah, I just find the whole thing just kind of mind-blowing, right? That you could have your rights violated, clearly violated. You could be prosecuted maliciously, clearly. You'll fund it all. And then you're also going to fund their defense, right? So they're going to defend themselves against you, and you're going to pay for that as well, right? And then, of course, you're going to pay for it because you're going to be retaliated against, and everyone's going to know who you are. Now there's a hit out on you. Now there's a target on you. And, now you're a mark and all that. So, Yeah, pretty sweet. It was a pretty sweet deal for exercising your rights. And then they wonder why nobody does it anymore. Well, gee, I wonder why. It's just such a Scooby-Doo mystery, isn't it, guys? But I don't know. City of Wayne, you got 2 hours of my life. Hope you guys loved it. I'll talk to you guys hopefully later, hopefully soon, assuming I don't get unalived by the City of Wayne Police Department. But you can't predict the future. You can only come at it with what you know. So hopefully God will protect me, because all my rights are under attack, and I'm not legally allowed to have a, First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, 14th Amendment. So, yeah, it is what it is for now, but we'll keep fighting.